Hi everybody. So if you've clicked on this video, you're probably wondering what to do after you've written your non-fiction book. And if you're ready to turn that book into a powerful brand that people actually trust, then stick around, because today we're going to go through 5 mainly overlooked steps that most authors miss, plus one thing that could make or break your brand. Step number 1, build your author website. Now, this might seem simple, but trust me, nowadays lots of people are using Amazon as their only landing page, or they're directing them to their LinkedIn or various other social media. And the main thing to know with these platforms is that you don't own them and you don't own your audience using them. So one of the best things that you can do is invest in your website. And if you need an example, let's take Josh Kaufman, who wrote Personal MBA. Now, Josh is a really good example of someone that built their presence by using a website. Josh would take lots of different resources and information to help people basically avoid having to pay for an MBA. And this caught a lot of attention. But while doing so, he also realized that he could neatly package this to make it more accessible. And that is why he wrote his book. And now his book acts as another way to get more people to go to his website and see his resources. So a website really can actually be the catalyst for your brand. So please don't neglect it. And an author website can act as a home base for your readers. It gives them somewhere where they know that they can go and find out more information about you. Whether that's blogs and newsletters, it really helps nurture a lasting connection that you own. The main things to focus on when you're creating a website is just to make sure that it is relevant to your book's core themes and that you're not creating something that is completely off on a tangent. Make sure that if you have a mission and that you're building a business around your book and around your expertise, that you are demonstrating those things within the website. Step number 2, showing up on social media. Now, you will hear so much about being consistent on social media, and it is really actually very important, mainly for reasons of the algorithm loving it, but also because if your audience knows when to expect content from you, they are more likely to tune in. It's the same as when we used to watch regular TV and we would tune in for a show that we loved. So think about it in that way and communicate with your audience. Don't commit to posting too often if you cannot keep that level of activity up. It is more important to be present when you promise to be and engage when you can. So a really good example of an author that has done really, really well with this is Gary Vee. Now, Gary Vaynerchuk is all over social media and has multiple books on the subject. So of course he is very, very consistent, but I bring him up because he has found ways to be able to gather information from his audience and really feed that content machine and work out what he needs to change in order to create more content and get more engagement. And this fuels even more sales of his book. So there really is evidence behind showing up. Now, if you're going to be starting on social media and this is not something that you've already done, I would suggest that you start small. Start with 1 or 2 platforms and make sure that they are platforms that you have investigated and you have found your target audience on those platforms and active on those platforms. It is not worth putting so much effort and time into something if your audience is not actually there. And step number 3, use your book as a platform for speaking and workshops. I think it's best to start here with an example, and that example is going to be Daniel Priestley, who wrote Key Person of Influence. I think he is a brilliant example of someone who has been able to catapult their career and basically make himself a thought leader. And he has done that because his book has led him to be interviewed on various podcasts by very influential people, including the Diary of a CEO podcast and the Ali Abdaal YouTube channel. So it's really catapulted him into this speaking circuit, and every time he speaks, he gets more people interested in his books. It is creating an ecosystem around his content. But every time he goes to speak, he is reusing that content. It is embedded into his mind because he knows exactly what point he wants to get across. And everyone that listens to him then wants to read his book. So really make sure that you're leveraging that and giving some key insights, but making them want to learn more because it will refer them back to your book. And second on that list was doing workshops. Authors are definitely missing out on opportunities if they're not using the content that they have worked so hard to create to basically give people another opportunity to interact with them, ask questions, explore a topic in more depth. And this can be used in different ways. It can be used to actually gather interest to try and promote your book, in which case you're probably going to want to do that for free. However, if you are doing the opposite and actually you want people that have read your book to then pay for a more in-depth conversation with you, that is also an option. So there is so much that you can do with this. You just need to work out how you are repurposing your content or building on it to get you to that next level of engagement with your audience. And step 4 is going to be collecting testimonials. And this is something that I hate trying to do, but it makes such a big difference if you are actually able to go out there and get testimonials from people. I'm going to give you an example of James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits. So one of the things that he did to build trust and get more people to subscribe to his idea behind that book was basically using the testimonials in marketing to show how much he had transformed people's lives. So really think about getting those testimonials, reach out to people, and if you can get them on video, even better, because video testimonials are so much less likely to be faked. And people just instantly trust and connect with those people a little bit more. So if that's something you can do, it's worth doing. And failing that, there's always Amazon reviews or Goodreads reviews. The key is just actually encouraging and asking for the reviews. One of the ways that you should be doing this is if you have a launch team running up to the launch of your book, and that is basically gathering a group of people that are eager to help you, that subscribe to your content already, and basically putting dates by their names of when they're going to do a review, when they are going to comment on your book being launched. So that's really something that you can explore further if you haven't already. And step number 5, newsletters, courses, and community. It's ongoing engagement. So Seth Godin is a marketing whiz for those of you that have not had the pleasure of reading his books, and someone that I would totally tell you to read if you were interested in marketing or branding or anything like that. But one of the main things that he has been able to do is build a really loyal following through newsletters and exclusive communities that offer extra value beyond his books. So if you're able to create a community, this can be on social media, but it could also take you to an email newsletter, which HubSpot and MailChimp have really comprehensive guides of how to set those up. Or you could think outside the box a little and do something like the school communities. That's a company that Alex Hormozy has invested in. But one of the key things behind those programs is that people voluntarily subscribe, can unsubscribe. The actual infrastructure is all there very easy without you having to do very much. But then it gives you the platform and the base for you to upload video content, add more documents, and this can be lots of things around your book and your knowledge. You are a subject expert and people are reading your book because of that. So giving them more ways to interact with you and get a little bit more for their money, like it can just be a small recurring monthly fee. It doesn't have to be extortionate, but that is one thing that can be really, really beneficial. And the final thing I want to talk to you about is what I do. And it's basically to tell you that the vast majority of authors are just focused on sales, and they are not focused on building a brand around their book or an ecosystem around their offers. Most of the people I work with have multiple things going on. They have courses, they have books, they have a company. Especially for lots of businesses right now that are doing brand books, this becomes even more important. And the main things that you're looking for when you're building your brand is building that trust, that community, that loyalty, and making yourself the person that they just remember when they think about a certain subject. That is the space that you want to own in their mind. So really coming up with a concrete plan and a roadmap for how you are going to strategically influence what they think about you and why they choose you is very, very important. And one of the biggest mistakes people make when they do this is that they start building their personal brand once the book has already been released. Now, that's a mistake in that you are retrospectively trying to create content when you could have just brought your audience along for the ride. People are so interested in books and authors, and especially if you're actually being traditionally published and you can show a little bit more of the actual making process and working with designers on book covers. And a good thing around doing this and having this level of engagement is that you can actually test your ideas, you can test titles, you can test cover designs, and really get to see how people tick and inform your strategy and generate more sales because you took the time to ask and engage and build up excitement. A lot of what authors misunderstand is you don't want to suddenly launch a book. People are not ready when you're just launching a book. They have not heard anything about it yet. They don't really know you enough yet to be invested. Whereas if you've been continuously bringing them along for the ride, informing them of what you're doing, how excited you are, they already know what's coming. They already feel like they're involved because they've helped you choose the cover, they've helped you choose your title, they've helped with chapter ideas. Those sorts of things just make them so much more invested. And if they're more invested, they are more likely to buy. So really take your time to think about your brand and how you can use that to your advantage and how you can make an ecosystem for your books and your world and your business. Because I think for most of you, the key aspect you might be missing is that this is a business. It's not necessarily just a book that you are doing alone in isolation. And if that is the case, maybe you need to think a little bit more strategically about how you go about marketing yourself. I really hope that you've enjoyed those 5 steps and that you found those helpful. If anyone has any questions about the sorts of things they can do with their brand, I'm really keen to kind of get to know some more about you and see how I can help. So please just any comments, I'd love to hear.